I'm Jay Rosenthal. This is Cultivated live from Planet 13 in Las Vegas. Krista and Jeremy are joining me on this side of the table, and Shyra is on that side of the table. She is with Delta Emerald Ventures. We're going to find out what that is, but before we do, and talk all about it, this is your first time at Planet 13?
It is.
And?
It is. It's amazing. I mean, I feel like every time I go to a dispensary in a new state or town, it's as if you guys have a little bit of Las Vegas spice in your dispensary, and it's really cool. I mean, it's amazing here. I mean, I was walking around, they're like, "Oh, check it out before the interview," and it looks like there's both a science element, but there's also there's something for everyone. It's amazing. It's really cool.
We've been watching them make the gummies this morning.
Oh wow!
And now they're cleaning that machine, which I noticed. And I think one was stuck. I don't know, but it is fascinating to watch it from this angle too. But also, it has a better. I've been to lots of states. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you feel like you're doing something wrong by going in a dispensary. Here, you do not feel like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You feel like you're meant to be here to buy weed.
I mean, is there anything that you do in Vegas and it feels like you're doing it wrong?
No. No, but that's part of the thing.
The bar is pretty
But you
low.
go to buy weed in Massachusetts, you really feel like you have to go through an airlock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You are doing something wrong, and to tell you that, we're basically going to lock you inside of a room.
Yep.
Before we let you into the other locked room. Before we don't show you product or anything and just buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so open. It's welcoming. I love it.
We're
And
not
all the
leaving.
This is great. I love it. It's awesome.
We're never leaving. Tell us about Delta Emerald Ventures and what it's all about, and then we'll dive into some of the things
Absolutely.
we do.
Okay, so Delta Emerald Ventures, we are an institutionally backed cannabis fund. We focus on technology primarily, but that's a big bucket. That can mean a lot of things. That's grow technology, biosynthesis, things like that. I'd say 60% of our portfolio is focused on tech, and that is mostly because we have a lot of team members on our team that have a background in technology. So we have 2 in-house data scientists. I used to work at Oracle previously before this job, so we understand tech really well. But other than that, 40% is operators or things that don't touch tech, so we're diversified, but we focus a lot on tech. We have our own in-house data platform that I think it powers a third or gets data for a third of the cannabis industry all throughout the supply chain. So we use that to power a lot of our investment decisions, and it's really fun because it's kind of a unique I'd say Moneyball way to invest in cannabis, because you're using data, you're seeing who has the solid numbers, focused on unit economics, and I mean we're still deploying. We have dry powder left, which is a really fortunate position to be in, especially today. So I feel really lucky, and no, I think it's a really exciting time too to be investing.
You had me at Moneyball.
What's the opportunity for a cannabis specific fund? What do you guys have that a regular tech investor doesn't have?
Like cannabis tech versus just tech?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a great question. So I feel with cannabis technology, there are a lot of nuances since it's so highly regulated. So if you get because I've talked to tech investors outside cannabis, and they've had the same question, why is cannabis special? And I think there's a lot of nuances understanding the whole tagging thing, and in terms of what it state by state too. I don't think a lot of investors who don't know cannabis well understand that it's a little microcosm in a state. You can't just have there's so many POS platforms that will own a very small region of a state, but they own that area. So I think to understand how fragmented it is something that is very unique to cannabis, and there's a lot of players. So to understand what the M&A opportunities are, the integration problems that are very commonly seen in the industry, I think that's something that a cannabis tech specific investor would understand more.
And with those invested, with the portfolio companies, and with the industry where it is now, and with the fragmentation you talked about, do all those things come together to equal a moat that is defensible when legalization happens nationwide? How do you think about that from an investment perspective?
Yeah.
To say that company, no matter what happens anywhere else, they're still going to own that region of Washington State. Mm-hmm. Not forever, but it's defensible.
For sure. I mean, I think that's a question that we're always thinking about when we make a tech investment. We don't want to invest in a POS company where there's a possibility that one from outside cannabis come in once it's legalized and just take over. So that's something we're constantly thinking about. I'd say like the best example I can give, and I might be wrong with like the details around this, but if you look at a company like Toast made like, Toast is in so many restaurants and it fits like that restaurant model really well. But there was another group called Slice that was specifically for pizza, like just pizza, and that did so well. And it was like, and it was because it was really specific to pizza, and it owned that, and it took off, and like Toast can't compete with that. So we're looking for opportunities in that way, and I'd say like there are a lot of opportunities in terms of groups that work with retailers. I think retailers are loyal, and I think tech stacks are very complicated. So, and I don't think that's something that like tech outside of cannabis understands. So it's really hard to come into cannabis and understand, oh wow, like these techs, there's not like one, it's very rare in my opinion to see like one tech company owning the entire, I don't really see that. I don't think, and I think like there's a lot of like, the reason why it's so fragmented is because there are so many pieces to the puzzle and so many different tech companies out there that just know what they're doing and they own it and they're really good at it. So there's like a reason to have it be fragmented, but the integrations are tough. And I think that you have to like, that's something that groups outside cannabis are going to have a really hard time understanding. And I think it might just be, I mean, we're betting that it's going to be far easier just to buy it. You know, that's what we're betting on.
It's interesting because one of the things that we think about a lot that would cross over with like a tech offering is that the customer who's making the purchasing decision of the tech is also in a different mindset. Like a pizza operator is a different mindset than somebody who serves breakfast.
Yeah.
Right? They have really different needs when they service their customers. How frequently their customer visits their locations can all vary a lot. And so there is something very nuanced that happens in that space specifically, and just understanding what are operators facing, what are they focused on right now, what are the trends within that industry. And I think a comp industry from a tech perspective to look at is actually e-commerce or D2C e-commerce, because the tech stacks and the complexity within e-commerce is so high, and there are so many different offerings that stack on top of each other and maybe even have crossover, but there are things that are really good at one thing. And I would maybe argue that there is an opportunity for that to continue, is like building a company that is really good at everything that you need as a retailer is very difficult. And so being able to plug in the pieces that you want when they're prioritized to your business becomes an opportunity.
For sure. And I'd even say like, even just to serve, like you'd say a cannabis retailer is different from retailers outside cannabis. You can even look at that question and say like a needs of an MSO versus like a single state operator versus like a 5 to 10 store chain versus a 1 to 5 store chain. All their needs are really different, and all their goals are different in terms of like a mom and pop shop is just trying to like, might want to grow to another store, but is really focused on their customers, versus a 5 to 10 store might be really focused on, okay, how do we make this a business? Like I need to really cut the inefficiencies to grow. So like the needs vary, and I think that that even leads to even further fragmentation of like even more opportunities for new tech companies to serve like those needs. So I think, yeah, it's really a lot of different types that you can serve for customers.
Yeah.
Let's make this like actionable for our viewers. I don't mean that this is all very good information, but you know, if I'm a smart young founder of a cannabis tech firm, how do I get on your radar, and what are things that you look for?
Okay, I'm really easy to contact. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll respond. So definitely like just reach out.
But you like a cold reach out.
I'm gonna tag you on LinkedIn right now.
I'm a fan of it. If you can spell my name right, you got me. So that's what I'm really looking for. So yeah, I mean we're really easy to reach, and cannabis is like, it is a small community. Like I know I just talked about how much fragmentation there is and how many players there are, but like as an industry, it's smaller than you. It's like there's opportunity, but it's small in terms of like, I feel like I know a lot of the players. So we're always looking for new groups that are trying to do something different. And there are so many problems that still exist. I always say that I think cannabis grew faster than any type of like technology or best business practices could form underneath it. So we're kind of playing a game of catch up. Like things are just selling. And we just like, oh my God, like I don't even know like our inventory. I don't even know how to I'm like people are spot checking, like that shelf looks low. Okay, let's get more for that.
This is all Krista thinks about.
Yeah, I mean,
she wakes up in a nightmare of that scenario. You're just
yes.
like,
No, it's hard. So yeah, like reach out, and even if it's not the right time, because we usually like to invest in groups that have a product to market or at least 10 months of like customer information or data, like that's what we look for. But even if you're not there yet, we love to have just get to know you, have initial conversations just to see what you're about. And like an initial no, like if we say no to you first, but you say, hey, 6 months, we're going to reach these numbers, and like we'll talk to you and reach them, I mean, that speaks volumes. Like a lot of the companies that we're investing in today, we've said no to once or twice before actually investing in, because we want to see, do they do what they say they're going to do? And when they do, they're like, okay, all right, this is real, this is something.
Are there any verticals within the cannabis tech space that are particularly exciting to you right now, or that you think will be in the next couple of years?
Great, I was hoping you'd ask that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Done this once or twice, yeah.
Yes, I think there are a lot of problems I think that we are waiting, like have not been solved yet. So one thing that I'm really looking out for are groups that can solve just like inventory problems. I think that's still really hard, and I think the way that people are like buying cannabis from suppliers, like that whole process, I think it's still like a little archaic. Like we can improve that with technology, and I think there are definitely some good companies that are coming up with solutions, but I haven't seen a lot of adoption of like a business practice that works. So groups that are looking at that. Something else that I think is really exciting is just the hemp-derived beverage sector. I mean, it's almost as if the federal government, through like the Farm Bill and a loophole, legalized cannabis without even knowing it. Like it's just kind of crazy. And you can sell like a hemp-derived beverage. You're not just like limited to dispensaries. You can sell in like non-dispensary, like in retailers, and just in Texas and Minnesota and Tennessee, South Carolina. It's exploding. So I think that is something, and I think people are cautious because it's a loophole. Like loopholes can be closed, but I think there's a lot of money and people behind it that don't want it to be closed, that are outside cannabis. So I think that it'll probably last a long time.
Like the good folks at Total Wine. They've come up more than any other brand. Total Wine in Minnesota. It's like,
get them on.
Seriously, we should have them on. Oh my God, that'd be so good. Because we talked about Minnesota before, and it is like loophole. I don't even know if the right word is loophole, but oversight. Like they're allowed to keep developing this market and build brand and brand recognition, and the retailers, non-cannabis retailers, love it. The restaurants are loving it. Like it's, and as I said when Jason was here talking about it, all those things are true, and the sky hasn't fallen in Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing. They can still
operate.
People
are working, the sun rises, and you know.
They still have a state fair. It's like a whole thing. Yeah.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, go.
I got one more question. Let me think about how to phrase this right. We're not in a zero interest rate environment. There's very few investors who can take a cannabis startup like the size of Jay's former employer and continually reinvest.
Yeah.
What is going to happen to this crop of startups that's at the Series C level or something right now? Like, where can they get growth capital? Yeah. What happens without federal reform?
Yeah, so so you mean like for companies that are like a little bit further along, like where does capital
that are
come
not
from?
really startups, but maybe not ready to go public yet.
Yeah.
What do they do?
So I think it's tough. I think that, when you get to that level, and I think that a lot of cannabis specific firms like have run out of capital just like at this time, so it's a little tough to look to cannabis firms for larger rounds. I'd say you should definitely look towards outside capital, but I don't know, there are also a lot of groups that I feel like have just raised, burned cash like there's no tomorrow, and now they're like, all right, we need more to function. And I think rather than looking for more capital, which I get sometimes you just have to do, like you should really look at like how to cut costs, how to be operationally super efficient, because that is what I think, like if you are looking to cannabis, that's what they're going to look for. Because I think a lot of investors now are really tired of just saying, all right, we have like, thanks for the capital. We'll be raising in 6 months, so we'll let you know when that happens. It's like, try to last a little longer than that, So,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'd probably say. But I'd say for larger raises, it's probably gonna have to be from outside cannabis unless other groups, and it might happen that other groups are coming into cannabis, but I haven't seen a lot of new funds come up really in a while.
Yeah, I mean the reason I asked the question is because you as a member of the press, you say a capital raise, wow, what a big thing you did. It's successful, but it's why'd you need that? You know? And so I think that's the kind of the framework that I'm trying to think of reporting in. What are the sources of capital? How to use it, and is it actually good for the business, right?
Yeah, what is it going towards?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
How much capital can you derive even from your own business?
Exactly right.
Yeah, doing business.
Right.
Yeah.
Free cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting questions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shyra, this has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
I really
this is
liked the
awesome.
conversation.
Yeah. No,
It's
loved
great.
it.
And I liked all the conversations, not just yours, but
But if you
yours
had
is
to
the
choose
most
a
recent one. You're
favorite.
here. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank Krista and Jeremy as well, because we are going to wrap up today, which is day 1 from Planet 13, Cultivated Live in Las Vegas. If you watch this and you are in Las Vegas, reach out. We might have some spots open. And even if you don't, if you come here and wait long enough, we can even put you on. So that's something for people watching in their hotel rooms now or on the trade show floor. Thank you both. Thank all of you. Thank the crew. Thank you, our producer, Matt, and Annie, who's running point out there as well. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern time. Thanks for watching Cultivated Live.
Awesome.